Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Generations in Music. Today, we have the amazing Alexander, who's been on countless amount of recordings and played drums and percussion across the board with so many different diverse artists. It's just going to be an exciting show to find out all about Alex and what his journey to the stage with some of these great artists. And I'll give you an example of some of them. Dido, Eminem, Chaka Khan, Richie Blackmore, David Bowie, Bruce Springsteen, Buddy Miles, El Jury, Toots and the Maytals. This goes on and on. So as you can see, he's not only a drummer in the rock world, he plays across the spectrum and must have a really interesting story and life on how he came from Colombia, or what it was?
That's right.
Born in Colombia.
I was born in Colombia, and my dad came first to the U.S., and then I came with my family, with my mom and my sister.
Wow. And so you were how old?
I arrived when I was 5 years old.
5 years old. So your whole life is on the streets of New York for early life.
That's exactly correct.
So did that influence your upbringing in like where your journey? Because how do you go from, everybody has to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. But how do you choose become a percussionist or a drummer? What's the story? Did it accidentally happen, or was it a chosen?
It kind of accidentally happened because I initially wanted to get into lighting at my school, and then the lighting guy was a drummer. He started pointing out the drummers, so I started getting into that. And they had some after-school rock concerts, and I noticed the drummer getting a lot of attention and up on the riser, Kiss style.
Right.
And I just got fascinated with it. And then I bought a floor tom, and I used to DJ, so I would play along with the records on just the floor tom. And then I bought a snare drum, so I just had a snare and a floor tom, and somebody told somebody that I played drums. And I joined a Latin rock band on 168th Street. It was Cuban guys.
Wow.
And they taught me all about Cuban music.
Wow, which is percussive, to say the least.
So I started with Stones and the Cuban music, Irakir, Los Van Van.
Really? Yeah. So do you think that had a big influence on why you can play across the spectrum in all styles?
What really had a big influence was my dad's record collection.
Really?
Because my dad was a classical music buff.
Really?
It was all classical music I grew up with. But he also would listen to a lot of 50s, what do you call them? Gentleman records, where it's just kind of instrumental music.
Really?
And so I learned a lot of percussion there.
Wow.
We didn't really listen to salsa so much. That was later on.
Right.
But I learned a lot of percussion listening to Mantovani and things like that, and then combined with Ravel's Bolero.
Right.
Capriccio Italiano. Madame Butterfly. That's really where my love for percussion started.
Really? Well, that's pretty sophisticated music. So and you just got the benefit of your ears were open, like, oh well, Dad's listening to it, so I'm going to listen to it, and it you felt it came inside you and it came out.
Right. He taught me how to really listen, how to isolate the instruments and go like, listen to this, listen to that. Now ignore the rest and just listen to that. So one of my favorite pastimes was just laying in bed with headphones and listening as a producer does.
Right.
Isolating things.
Really?
Because my life as a kid was not really outside. I didn't really have a lot of friends. So it was mostly listening to music or up in the mountains collecting insects.
Insects?
I was really into insects and butterflies.
Really? So you're a real science guy, and you got high intellect about the world around you.
Right. My dad was like, I'm not going to get you a baseball glove. I'm not going to get you a bat. We're not going to get you a basketball.
Really?
I got a microscope. I got a kit to build the human body, so I learned all the body parts.
Wow.
I got a science kit. I was doing electronics, building out of Radio Shack when I was like 11.
Wow.
I would walk from 200th Street in Manhattan all the way down Fordham Road, past Alexander's, to a depot that had all electronic parts.
Wow.
And that was like a 5-mile walk.
I remember Canal Street.
I remember
Electronics.
Canal Street, absolutely.
Yeah,
I loved those places. All the DJ places and all the places that sold parts.
So you did all of this during your youth. You really absorbed the world completely, from music to nature to science. Like, you really had it. And your journey led you to playing drums. And what was, like, say, your first big break? I'm sure you took lessons from people and different, you learned, but was it mostly self-taught, or was there an influential teacher? But I guess you tell me what your journey was to get to the drums. Like,
it was. I started at 16, seriously. Okay. It was that to 17, it was playing at my house. None of the neighbors complained. And I was just playing with records. My parents bought me a little champagne Ludwig-style kit. Right. And I would put towels and everything, and I just played. And then my upstairs neighbor made a record with an 808 drum machine. And
one of the first.
One of the first. And he just happened to catch the ear of a record company, and they gave him a deal, and then they gave him it became a hit. It became a
really
hit. It's a song called Al Nafish by Hashim. So if I played it for you, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's hip hop. That's the beginnings of hip hop.
Wow.
All the guys in Times Square dance to it. If you hear this keyboard part, you're like, oh yeah, that's the beginnings of hip hop. And so he called me up and he said, I got a gig, and I need a drummer, and I need a drummer for my band. And he was on the 9th floor, and my first gig was in Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And playing
in Toronto,
rock music,
we played this hip hop song.
Really?
He was already a hit.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you went right from the bedroom right to the stage, almost.
Almost. Yeah, almost.
Almost, right. Like, but pretty quick.
I was playing a lot downtown in Matrix Studios.
Matrix, I do know the name.
So I joined the band, and I was in Matrix for 2 years, playing by myself in a room, learning every style of music.
Wow.
I met a drum teacher who was Larry Bright, and then later Kenwood Denard.
Right, I know. Yeah.
I used to travel with Bushrock.
Right, yeah.
To their gigs.
Delmar.
And Rael Wesley Grant. And so that was all coming up to the first gig.
Wow.
You know.
So you did have some good experience going to that Canadian gig. I mean, you were already established.
I knew how to play.
You know, when you mentioned those Bushrock, everybody in that band knew what they were doing.
Absolutely. And I got a chance to see that 70s fire that a lot of people don't see anymore.
Right.
I got a chance to see musicians that would just light up a stage with energy that was superhuman.
And do you think that is that part of what people come to you for? Is, like, I always find it interesting. Why does a person? Because there's lots of drummers to hire. I know it's always it's probably personality, but is there a sound that people recognize you for, or is it your diversity? What do you think it makes you a go-to drummer for so many people?
I think it's a little bit of everything. It's the fact that I'm easy to work with. It's the fact that I'm willing to try anything.
Right.
You know, that if I want to try something that's unusual, I'll try it. Mm-hmm. That I have knowledge about drumming.
Right.
And I do have a sound. You know, when you say you have a sound, I hesitate because I've seen the greats.
Right.
I've seen Tony Williams.
Yeah.
I've seen Neil Peart. And that, to me, is a sound.
Really? And so to get to that, because as a guitar player, singer, we had discussed this in a prior before the interview about drums and the sound of drums. And to me, I know very little other than when it's not feeling right and somebody's off time or something like that. But the drums themselves are an interesting instrument and complex, more complex than a boom.
Right.
And we were talking about the kits and the difference, like the wood, and could you explain like why you like a certain kind of kit as opposed, and what another drum company makes? Not that you need to point out good or bad, but just what's the difference besides sizes?
Well, it's like guitars. You like different guitars have different sounds, different strings will give you different sounds. So on the drum kit, different drum heads will give you a different sound.
Okay.
If you want a rock sound out of your bass drum, you get a coated
coated head.
If you want a Earth, Wind, and Fire kind of bass drum sound, you use a clear head.
Yeah.
A pinstripe head, which is what they were using.
And they give you a certain...
Yes, the coated will give you much more of a thud and chesty sound.
Okay.
And a clear sound will be more of a point.
Right.
More of a smack, pointy sound. And then if you want more of an R&B, you'll tune it up. If you want more rock, you tune it down. The width of the drum affects the sound of it. If you want more 60s, it'll be more of a narrow drum.
Right.
If you want a deeper, more modern drum machine kind of sound, it'll be an 18-inch drum as opposed to a 16-inch wide drum. And then you get into the woods. Maple is very warm. Birch is brighter. And if you want to use, now they're making drums with different woods combined. So you have maple and birch combined.
Really?
In certain plies to generate a sound.
And you can hear that, as most drummers can hear the difference immediately. Like I couldn't tell you what a drum, is this something you just developed from years of doing?
You develop it being in the studio and learning how to get a sound in the studio.
Really?
More than live.
Oh, that it defines the sound.
Yeah, you start listening to yourself, and I use this drum. Whenever I record, I always write down what I used. And then I listen back and I go, okay, that will get that sound. If I use a Rogers snare, it's that sound. If anybody ever asks me, I need this kind of sound, I'll know. If I need Barry White, it's a Rogers sound.
Wow.
If I need rock, it's a Ludwig sound. A Black Beauty is a drum that will work almost in any situation.
And that's a Black Beauty?
That's a Ludwig Black Beauty.
A Ludwig.
That's the most common snare sound.
Really?
Yeah. A Black Beauty and a Superphonic. A Superphonic Ludwig is the most recorded drum in the world.
Really?
It's on more hits than any other drum.
Amazing.
So if you want a hit, you generally go a Black Beauty or a Superphonic.
This is all stuff that you've just gathered through the years. So if you're listening to this, you can see learning these different sounds, and it comes from experience, and also you've just been turned on to some interesting history that is really important for the recording, and it's all about listening more and more. So when you go to play for different artists, like I notice you have Eminem in here, when you hit that you walk in for the first time, do you know what you're getting, or is it always special, and does it gel immediately, or
it's always different.
Everything is...
It's always different. You got to come in with an open mind. You have to be adaptable.
Right.
You have to be open to their vision. Like I always come in going, I want to satisfy your vision. What's your vision? Tell me your vision. Tell me where do you want to get to, what kind of image you want to have, what kind of sound you want to have, what kind of playing do you want to have. And then I try to give you, out of my knowledge, the best that I can to achieve that goal.
So that's a good thing for any aspiring drummer that comes up to ask a question when they get into the session. What are you looking for?
Absolutely.
A lot of people probably didn't think that was part of the school training to ask, what do you need for this, which is years of experience can only get you.
It's something you won't get in school.
Right. So what else would you recommend? Like, what is something you would tell younger aspiring drummers, or any aspiring drummer of any age? What would you tell? What would you like to say to the audience?
I would say learn every kind of music.
Right.
Learn every style of music. Learn not just the style of music, but what drum fills go in that style. So that you're not playing a rock fill in a Brazilian song.
Okay.
So you have to learn the complete kind of style it is. Learn everything, and then be adaptable to switch in between. Learn to record in the studio. Learn how to get a great sound in the studio. You don't hit the cymbals hard in the studio, you hit them lighter.
Really?
You hit the drums harder, and you hit them lighter. That's why Bonham had a great sound. He hit his cymbals light, but he pounded his drums hard.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting, listening. You knew that from just listening, I guess.
Well, and people I learned from my teachers.
Really?
And just a general hanging out everywhere and learning from your teachers. My teachers did tell me, when the studio, hit the cymbals lighter.
Wow, interesting.
It chokes the mics.
Okay.
If you're bashing like Keith Moon, Keith Moon has a thin sound. He's a great drummer,
Right.
but he has a thinner sound than Bonham because Keith Moon hit a lot of cymbals,
Right.
which made the mics go like this.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just part of the sound. It's a part of the sound of the Who.
You're right. Yeah, it is pretty much. It was a 3-piece band, 4-piece,
Right.
4 with a singer.
If you get Billy Cobham to play with the Who, it wouldn't be the Who because Billy wouldn't play the cymbals
Right.
the same way.
Yeah. True.
Ringo
True.
wouldn't play the cymbals the
Amazing.
same way.
Yeah.
You got to have that sound.
Yeah, right. It's the uniqueness. And do you feel that you bring to each session different skills that, or do what you bring to the session really determines the outcome? Because from my perspective, drums are the engine of a band.
Right.
And it's if the drum sound isn't good, then the record usually will not feel right.
Right.
And
So you have to come in with good time,
Right.
a sound, some knowledge of engineering, some knowledge of production,
really,
knowledge of what drum makes will create the best sound. I love Yamaha drums.
good. Yeah.
because,
We have Yamaha, in our studios.
You know, I came to Yamaha and I said, I would love to represent these drums because I love the sound. If you don't give me a record, if you don't give me an endorsement deal, I'm not going to go to another company because this is
Really?
the sound I love.
Wow.
I'm not going to play any other drums. Whether you loan me or if you give me something, I'm not going to play another drum because this is the sound I want.
Really?
And they were like, okay, well, since you're doing okay, we'll give you a few
Fantastic.
things and help you out. The same with Zildjian. Zildjian gave me some great cymbals, and they said, here's a bag of cymbals that we think would fit your playing and what you're doing.
Wow.
And then whenever I needed some more, they were willing to lend me some more. Same with Yamaha. I'll call up Yamaha and say, I'm doing a record, I'm doing an album, and I need your best kit.
Wow.
And they do. They call up SIR and they said, lend Alex our best kit, our flagship Phoenix $25,000 kit, because he needs a great drum sound.
Amazing. So this is like from achievement to get to endorsements like this. This is a wonderful journey. Like to get these symbol endorsements. This is like you really have to work at that. They don't just give them to everybody.
Because you become a representative.
Right.
You're not just a guy playing the drums. You become a representative of the company, and you have to represent them in how you act, how you treat yourself, and how you get your job done.
Wow. So obviously you're a very accomplished drummer, from like I said before. So this kind of with the endorsements, it's a matter of you understanding the product. If you're an aspiring musician out there and you like something that you hear, investigate where it came from, what they're using, because the equipment does matter. And it's obvious it matters to your style, depending on what you need, and you can play most styles. So to switch it up a little bit, you've had a long journey, and you still are involved in music for completely every day. Is there any new artists that you might be working with that you want to say hello to or shout out that you want to listen to my playing that you're working with?
I've been doing shows with El Jury, Cecilia Villar El Jury,
Excellent.
and our shows are geared to promote voting.
Really?
Whether you vote left or right, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Just register. We're trying to get young people to register and vote and have a voice in their country.
Right.
So we do shows to promote that and to bring people together. There's food, there's drinks, there's music, and vote.
Excellent. That's a positive thing.
Totally a positive
Being
thing.
civically minded. It's still,
We just finished the last show that we're going to do for this, and then I think Cecilia is thinking about doing more songs, and so everything's open for the future. I've been playing with Pamela Laws. I play my Electric Djembe with Pamela Laws in her band. I've been playing with Eric Walliantowicz, who has asked me to play on his record from home. So I set up, for COVID, I set up a recording studio, a makeshift studio in my apartment. And I play and I record from my home. I no longer need to go to a studio. Right. I can do everything, drums or percussion, from my apartment. Yeah. And fortunately, nobody's ever complained. And
thank goodness,
I'm up way high.
Good for
I have
you.
a great view of the city, and nobody hears
and
it.
you're in time. You're in time, so it's harmonious. I know drumming,
and
it's not.
I do gigs with Eric and Bronte Roman, his singer. And I'm always involved in different projects, playing with different people. I'm playing with the American Nomads. We just did a live record with Sting's producer, Neil. He's going to be producing the record. And so I'm just always evolving through different bands, but always bringing my knowledge and trying to do the best job possible.
Sounds like it. That's why your list is long and serious. A lot of great names on that. You can check out his credits in there. Also, so what we have here is we have these slides going on. Maybe you could give us a little bit of time and just tell us what we're looking at, and we'll stop on one and start with that, and then you can point out what's going on.
Okay,
so you pick one.
This first one was just a promo that was shot by...
Can somebody stop it?
Yeah. So this was a picture taken by Rocktopia's tour manager. I just happened to ask her, and she took this picture. I love this picture because Yamaha we were in Bulgaria, and I'm not Bulgaria, in Budapest, and Yamaha had very graciously found a full-size kit for me, and Zildjian had found some cymbals for me to use, and it was all fantastic and really great, and I'm really proud that we were able to put that together. It was my first gig with Rocktopia. I'm playing a 1964 acrylite snare.
Wow. Acrylite, that's acrylic.
No.
No?
No, it's a steel drum. It's just called an acrylite.
Okay.
And they were initially made for students, but they have the greatest sound.
Really?
Dad used to play acrylites. He played acrylites with a lot of Chick Corea records.
Wow.
And so ironically, what happened here is I was so excited that they were setting up the stage. It was a 50-piece orchestra with 50-piece choir, and we had 6 singers, and we were doing all classical music mashed up with classic rock.
Really?
So we would go from Stravinsky to Led Zeppelin to Rachmaninoff to Pink Floyd. It was just back and forth. The whole thing was sequenced.
Really?
And I had a click, and I had to play with a click and guide the whole orchestra along.
Just as a quick, and we'll get to the next one, and you look fantastic, by the way. Great picture.
It just came out good.
It just came out good. Sometimes you get it. What's it like, from your perspective, to be in the middle of that sound? Because that's what I've heard from classical orchestra people who play in orchestras. What's just a brief? Is there an actual feeling you get from that?
Yeah, you know when you're on a 747 and it's taken off.
Okay.
That's what it feels like.
Really?
You're flying a 747, except you're the pilot.
Really?
Yeah. That's
the emotional feeling.
So many people. You hear the strings and the bass and the horns and everybody, and you're all taking off and you're guiding them. And if you know what you're doing, it's smooth. I had to guide them through tempo changes.
Really? Wow.
So the click would go bop, 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 bop.
Right.
Bop, 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 bop. And I had to guide them through that seamlessly. Like we would go from Kashmir to Nessun Dorma.
Wow.
Which was a big tempo change.
Right.
And they really appreciated it because I knew how to do it, and they were like, "Thank God for you."
Wow. Well, yes. So it's like being around jets coming at you. Like, that's got to be something that only if you're in that situation can you really experience. And there's not a lot of us that get to experience that. Congratulations for you, and thank you for sharing.
I was very lucky. I got this gig because they lost their drummer 2 weeks before the recording on Channel 13.
Really?
And they needed a drummer, and they called me up. They said, "Can you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I didn't realize how much work it was going to be, but it became a lot of work and a lot of learning. And I did do it. I did it for 3 years, and we did 48 straight shows, no break, at the Broadway Theater. I did 48 shows, no subs. No breaks, every single day.
What a story. What a story. Now we have, let's go to the next one because we probably have limited time here.
That's Winston Roy and Cecilia Villarreal Jury, and this is right before one of our gigs in Pennsylvania. I love playing with her. I played on 4 of her records.
El Jory, yeah, she rehearses here at Music Makers.
Yes, she does.
Yes, that's
and we love it here.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you saying
Yeah.
it. Tell all your friends about Music Makers and why for their rehearsal needs and other great music programs. So this is the current band, one of the current bands you're in right now.
One of the current bands,
and
yeah.
projects you're working on. What do we have next, guys?
And, this is God's Child. So God's Child, again, I got a call. They lost their drummer. They needed to go to Europe. And he called me up and he said, it's too late to send you music, so just meet us on the plane. And I'll tell you all about it, and I'll play you the music, and you can learn it on the flight. And
Pencils?
What's that?
Pencils?
Yeah, pencils. I charted everything. I always chart out the songs.
How lovely.
And I met them all on the plane. We went to Europe. Roman Polanski didn't want concerts, so he canceled our gigs. And the promoter said, here's a white limo. Take the white limo and go to Czech Republic and find gigs because your gigs got canceled. So we all climbed in the car and we went to the city. And the lead singer, Chris Seifried, went to the clubs and said, we're from New York, we're here, we can do a great show Friday. And they said, cancel the bands that were playing, we're going to put them in.
What?
And we filled the place, and we played for 4 hours straight,
Really?
nonstop, just playing, grooving for 4 hours.
Really?
We would go from their songs to just a groove.
Right.
And we did that for 2 weeks. There was a lot of adventures.
I'll say, yeah. I can only imagine. How old were you?
I think I was 31.
Okay, yeah.
And I met and then when we got back, they
You
said,
look young there.
yeah.
Yeah, you look
And then we
okay.
got back, they said, we got a record deal on Warner Brothers.
Right.
And we want you to be the
Warner
drummer.
Brothers.
So they replaced me and put me in as the drummer.
Wow, fantastic. Wow.
And I was with them for 3-4 years.
Wow, amazing. What a great story.
It was all by chance. This is Dido and Yusu Endure.
Right.
Dido went on. Our first gig with Dido was at CBGB's gallery.
Right.
3 people came.
Oh, yeah, you had a gallery, right?
Yeah, 3 people came. The bartender, the sound man, and Clive Davis.
Really?
Yeah, it was just Clive.
Just sitting there.
Yeah, I was playing the djembe, and it was their first time performing in the U.S. And Clive said, "Yeah, I like it. It's good. Put them on the Lilith Fair tour." So he sent us to the Lilith Fair tour. We did some gigs. Then one day the rain came. We couldn't perform. There was no roof. So they said, "We're going to put you on the main stage along with Sinead." I'm forgetting all the names. It was all the singers from Lilith Fair, like all the famous singers. And during our show, a rainbow came out.
What?
And everybody said, like, that girl's special. So she got a deal on EMI.
Wow.
6.5 years later, we finished. She sold about 48 million records.
Wow.
And she wrote, and that's without Santana. She wrote songs for Santana, and she wrote songs for Eminem.
Wow.
She had the hit "Stand" with Eminem, and then we did this performance. It was 250,000 people in London.
Oh my
in a
goodness!
park,
Oh
and
my
Yusu
goodness.
came out, and
Holy
he was
cow.
fantastic. It was great to.
This is
perform with him,
amazing.
too.
These stories are so interesting.
It's just all been adventure after adventure.
It really is. Get into music, everybody. If you're looking, because your life could be really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean it's not always about money, but it's about life and learning and seeing the world. And music can give that to you. Right.
One bit of advice I would give young people is take every gig, because you never know where it's going to take you.
There you go.
Like, even
Good
if
advice.
it's not a lot of money, if you're starting out, take every gig and do the best you can, do the best job you can, and somebody will remember you for another gig, and that will lead you to places
Great
you don't
advice.
even imagine.
Hey, we have a little bit of time left only.
Okay.
So you've invented the electronic djembe, is that
Yes.
what that's called? An
That's right.
electronic djembe. And
Yeah.
it's the only one in the world.
The only one in the world.
And so this is something that came to you, you just said, let me do this, it became...
I heard it in my mind, and then in Japan, and then I came to New York, and I tried to recreate what I had heard, and this is what came out.
You know, since we're going to be wrapping this up, could we have you if you don't mind, would you mind playing a little bit of this?
Sure.
That was simply amazing. The whole concept, the sound is just incredible.
Thank you.
I could see how this could really be used in so many different styles of music.
Oh yeah, absolutely. With Dido, I did it with her the longest for 6.5 years, and we would play stadiums.
Really?
We would play, 30,000 seaters, and people loved it. And because it's wireless, I can run all over the stage and create a vibe and be a part of the band and a part of the performance. And the sounds change and everything changes.
It's endless. It sounds like, and I think you said to me earlier, you have a record from.
Yes, I have a world record with URDB for 430 plus sounds in 4 minutes.
In 4 minutes.
I did that at Joe's Pub, and there's a video of it on YouTube. And I have a world record for the most sounds from one drum.
Really?
In 4 minutes.
4 minutes. That's amazing. That really is. It's an accomplishment. At 400, you must have been really working.
I was going through all the sounds possible I could find.
It must have been something to see.
Yeah.
It must have been. So how is it that you're, if you want, anybody wants this on their recordings, Alex Alexander, he invented the Electric Djembe. And it's out there. Good luck with this. It sounds like I'm sure you took a long time to do this, but it's a wonderful invention, and it's going to be a great addition to music, I'm sure,
Thank you.
in the future.
This is our 18th year together.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, 18 years.
years.
Wow, I think it needs to get out to the public a lot more. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up. So to everybody, thank you for joining us in Generations in Music. This is coming to you from Bob Elliott's Music Makers here in New York City. Tell all your friends about musicmakersny.com, and we'd love to see you here at the studios rehearsing and join one of our music programs. But so good night, everybody, or good afternoon. And from Alex Alexander and Bob Elliott, take care. We'll see you soon.
That was great, Bob.
Thank you. That was great.